The Nightreign DLC released alongside a whole bunch of relic changes. They did add some Deep of Night specific relics into the base game. They also added a way to start off with specific spells, and they also did add some brand new relic perks. Now, these brand new relic perks are going to be exclusive to specific relics, and you can't really get them via randomized methods. And one of these relic perks is called Successive Attacks Boosts Attack Power, which this perk right here might be the single best perk in the entire game. You do get this on the Glass Necklace relic, which you acquire off the Undertaker Remembrance. It also does come with the activating ult increases attack power for the Undertaker, as well as some more ultimate art charge. Now, despite this being designed for the Undertaker, I think that this is the best relic in the entire game for almost every single character. And the reason being is because Successive Attacks Boosts Attack Power is pretty much just free damage. It works the exact same way as the multi-hit talismans and the Thorny tier, in that the more that you attack, the more of a damage boost you end up getting, which typically does work very well with like some faster hitting types of weapons. But even if you are using like larger weapons and power stancing, it can still do well in that area. But the reason why Successive Attacks Boosts Attack Power Relic is the best relic in the entire game is because the damage that it offers is just ridiculous. As the very first tier, it offers 7% damage, the second tier is 18%, and then the third tier is 35% more damage, which is just absurd and ridiculous. Being that this perk works the exact same way as the multi-hit talismans and the Thorny tier, I'll just put some comparison numbers up for you on screen, and you can see just how ridiculous that this one relic is. Like, the Thorny tier is actually one of the best of tiers in the entire game because it can offer up to 20% more damage. 35% more damage at all times is just stupid. Now, I could just end the video here and tell you guys to slap this on every single character, but there are going to be some unique interactions that certain weapons have with successive attacks that makes it be even more ridiculous. Now, typically how it will work is that every single 3 attacks, it will go up a tier. So you will need to be able to attack 9 times in a row to be able to maximize the damage. And then the more that you attack, the longer the buff can stay active. And even if you do stop attacking for a little bit, it does take a while for it to drain back down to 0. And this is especially true for the Relic, because normally the multi-hit buffs only last like 5 to 10 seconds at most. But for some reason, this buff is like lasting over a minute if you hit enough times, which honestly might be a bug. But that's why I mentioned that power stancing could be very good with this, because you're swinging with 2 weapons at once, so you only really need to land 2 light attacks just to be able to proc the buff. And this also can be very true for like really quick hitting types of skills. So things like repeating thrust can just proc it instantly in just 1 attack. But there are certain weapons out there and certain attacks that can proc it a lot faster. Namely being heavy attacks. The heavy attacks just typically have higher motion values when it comes to like the multi-hit based scalings. So with a heavy attack, you only need to hit twice. And the funny thing is, there are heavy attacks out there that already swing and hit twice. One obvious example would be the fist weapons. Something like the Star Fist or the Iron Balls can proc this in just 1 attack. So all you need to do is just do 3 heavy attacks, not even fully charged, of the Iron Balls or a Star Fist, and then it's going to instantly max out the buff and gain that 35% more damage. And everybody already knows how broken Star Fist and Iron Ball charged heavy attacks are. They're probably the best stance breaking weapons in the entire game because those charged heavies are so fast and they can output great damage because they're swinging with both weapons at the exact same time. Unfortunately, power stancing doesn't really offer unique heavy attacks that hit with both weapons. Now, there are certain weapons that aren't paired that still hit twice, and these will proc it in just 1 attack. So the Warhawk Talon, the Serpent Bone Blade, the Godskin Stitcher, the Regier's Rapier, the heavy attack that the Scholar gets pretty much can instantly proc it too. And then there's even really quick attacks like the Erdsteel Dagger or the Black Knife. These heavy attacks come out so fast and hit multiple times that you can instantly proc this buff. Now, the Duchess doesn't actually get the same moveset as the Erdsteel Dagger or the Black Knife, but she actually has her Dagger heavy attack hit multiple times still. And the funny thing is, her follow-up heavy attack hits 3 times. And if you wanted to know, in just 2 uncharged heavy attacks, it instantly procs it to tier 3 and you gain that 35% damage boost. So if you are playing the Duchess, she can actually stack up these buffs really quickly just by spamming uncharged heavy attacks. Now, unfortunately, her dexterity scaling isn't going to be that high. So if I did want to play her with a melee-based character, I would rather have the strength-based relic on and try and find fist weapons, because otherwise she does better with spells. But speaking of spells, and one of the ones that she does very well in, and probably the best spell for her, CARIAN Slicer. This spell right here is actually one of only a handful of spells in the game that actually work with the multi-hit talismans, and actually will work with the successive attacks buff. Now, unfortunately for CARIAN Slicer, even though it does work, it doesn't really work that well. It's always going to be like twice as hard to try and proc this buff compared to if you were using a light attack. Like, it takes 6 CARIAN Slicer light attacks just to get to the first buff. But one thing that you can do is just have the slicer in your offhand and use the dagger in your main hand to proc the buff, and then you can just maintain the max stacks with the CARIAN Slicer because it does do that multi-hit damage. So yeah, one of the best builds in the entire game in a CARIAN Slicer Duchess build just got even better because you can just slap this on and then gain 35% more damage. And yeah, if you must know, this damage boost does apply to all sources. So you actually can boost the damage of your ultimate attacks, your character skills, spells, throwing pots, doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be a unique buff that's universal. So all these like really quick dexterity weapons with all these quick dexterity types of characters, this definitely has to be like your number one option that you do have equipped, unless you are playing the IRONEYE with bows, because unfortunately the bows do not proc the multi-hit buffs. But I always recommend playing melee IRONEYE and trying to run things like dormant katanas, because you can just get more damage at melee, and this relic perk is just going to only help it even more. But this perk can also work extremely well with characters like the Raider and the Wilder. And the reason being is because their character skills actually help proc these multi-hit buffs. And the Wilder can actually have a relic perk that gives him 2 grapple hooks. And being that fist weapons already pair best with the Wilder, this can be an absolutely broken build. Pair this alongside some critical attack types of buffs in solo, and you'll be stance breaking everything, and nothing is going to stand a chance. But the Raider does have his own specific things that he can do. Like, people do like to run dormant fists with the Raider as well, which is pretty cool, even though I think the Wilder just does that exact same thing but better. But the Raider is likely to find some larger types of weapons, and some larger weapons perform especially well with this. One of them being the Geezer's Will. Now, the Geezer's Will weapon skill doesn't actually work with successive attacks, but its one-handed heavy attack does. And a fully charged one-handed heavy attack will instantly proc it to tier 3. And this attack already does insane damage and insane bleed buildup, so with this extra 35% more damage, this weapon can be an absolute menace. Also, if you do manage to find the Star Scourge Greatsword as well, that's also going to be best with the Raider, because the Star Scourge Greatsword gets a unique light attack, and this light attack, the very first one, instantly procs the tier 3 buff. So yeah, this video is pretty much just like a PSA. If you do play like a melee based character and you spam attacks, just slap on this relic, because it's going to give you more damage than basically any other relic in the game. But anyway, that is it for this one. I will be making some more videos along the way. Hopefully my next video is going to be the Scholar review. So definitely stay tuned for that one. And also do follow me on Twitch, because I'm live there every single day testing out all these different types of builds. I've been having an absolute blast with this DLC, just like testing out dozens of different builds and playing with all the different relics. It's been really fun. So definitely pop by there if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys in the next. See yous.